Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, California Weather Watch. Today is November 6th, and right now we are looking at the lower level water vapor loop. So we got the state of California here, and you can actually see the north and the northeast flow coming across the mountains as we speak. These winds are going to be kicking up across the region as we go through the day to day out of the north and the northeast, and this will be spreading across Southern California here over the next few hours. It's going to bring very dry conditions. Some extreme fire danger is possible, so be careful out there. You can already see this offshore flow occurring across the region. We're going to dive into those details. We're also going to take a look at the extended forecast. I want to leave you guys with some hope out into the extended forecast because we do have some weather systems that have their eyes on the state of California. We'll dive into that in a little bit of detail here as well. One more look here at the entire west, and again, we've got this ridge of high pressure over the area. The surface high pressure is setting up over the Intermountain West, and that's what's going to drive these strong offshore winds. More on that here in a moment. Looking at the current hazards, all this pink here is red flag warnings. We have wind advisories, we have high wind warnings in effect for some portions of Southern California also. And you can see this does include much of the Bay Area and a lot of the I-5 corridor of the Sacramento Valley. Now, taking a closer look at the fire weather outlook, you can see we have as high as it can go right there near Oxnard, across Santa Clarita. Extremely critical fire conditions. It doesn't get any higher than that. It does not include the much of the Los Angeles metro, I should say, but surrounding areas are going to be an elevated critical and extremely critical fire danger here as we go through the day today, November 6th. And this is something that I had not heard in a long time this term called long range spotting. So you can see what's going to be going on today. The embers get lofted to extreme heights, and as these embers fall back down, they can easily start fires well downstream, especially with the very strong winds. So that is what it's meant. If you look at the area forecast discussion, National Weather Service talks about the long range spotting. So, you've got roadways or huge areas that you think might protect you from fires that are downstream, but in this long range spotting, these embers can be lofted thousands of feet in the air and then blown miles downstream as the high winds come across the region. And you can see at the very end, they do mention that extreme fire behavior and long-range spotting. And still under the particularly dangerous situation for much of Los Angeles and Ventura County, the long, widespread, and long-duration Santa Ana wind event here is bringing that danger. And also looking one more time here at the Bay Area, this does go through at 7 a.m. Thursday morning. I did want to nail down the timing on that. Red flag warning up some of the Sacramento Valley as well. Low relative humidity, as you guys know the drill. So Los Angeles, you can see there is some storm warnings at the strong winds across the offshore flow here. It's going to bring some very windy conditions out even over the open waters. Sorry, the caffeine's getting me going here this morning. But you can see high wind warnings are in effect for some of the regions. And again, there could be gusts up to 100 miles per hour locally and probably some widespread 60 to 80 mile per hour winds with this Santa Ana wind event. And again, one more look here, the very rare, particularly dangerous situation. This is something that is usually reserved for tornado outbreaks out in the plains or across some of the eastern portions of the United States. So it is interesting to see them put this out and issue it. And again, extreme fire behavior. And now, taking a look at some good news here. If you like a bit more unsettled weather, National Weather Service Sacramento is now calling attention to this November 9th through 12th coming up here. Today is November 6th, and we've got some weather systems that are going to be rolling in here. We're going to take a look at that here in a moment. But I do want to take a look at the meteorology behind these offshore wind events. We're looking at 10,000 feet here, and you can see even at 10,000 feet, look at this northeast flow. So that this layer of winds coming out across the terrain is very deep. That's why some of them are going to be extremely strong. It goes all the way from the surface and extends well over 10,000 feet with this offshore wind event. And there's the state of California that I'm circling. And you can see this northeast direction driving all the way out across much of the state as we go all the way on into the day Thursday. We drop down to 5,000 feet. You can still see, of course, we got the same thing going on here. You can see the wind funneling through some of the higher terrain out there across northern and southern California, across the desert areas. Again, the northeast component, very dry conditions rushing with that. We drop down towards 2,500 feet, and you can see the same thing. You can see it moving through the canyons and the valleys out there and between the higher terrain, all the way out over the open waters with some very strong winds as we continue all the way on in through Thursday afternoon. Now, this is 80 meters. We'll go through this one more time. I'm just going to let this loop through. You can see the northeast component across the higher terrain of the Sierra Nevada. And yeah, it's going to get really windy out there for some locations. So why does that happen? We talked about that ridge of high pressure, but this is the surface high setting up over the Intermountain West. And it's going to bring a very strong pressure gradient with it. And you can kind of see that setting up. And it continues with us all the way on on into Thursday. Then we start to relax that gradient as we go through Friday, and then we get the potential for some weather systems moving in. More on that here in a moment. But looking at the dew point, you can see the very dry air spilling out over the coastal regions. I mean, look at these dew points in the single digits for a lot of areas as we continue on in through Thursday. So I think I've driven home that point enough. Let's try to end things on a positive note for those of you that like some active weather on the wetter and cooler side. So if we scroll off in towards this weekend, you can see this trough right here is going to try to bring some semblance of a system as we go through the weekend coming up, and then a stronger trough potentially arriving as we go through the early portion of next week. This one will be interesting here, and then we could remain active after that also. You can see continued trough activity, and then you look off in the extended forecast, and there's always something fun to look at there as well. But you can see that we are not going to remain in this pattern for long. We'll be off in towards this more unsettled weather as we go on into the weekend and then the early portion of next week. If we take a look at what that means precipitation wise, or at least where we are right now, you can see that system. This is the one swinging through Saturday night. It does clip portions, but then as we go through Monday, better chances start to bring some precipitation totals down across much of the state, and we'll see how that trends here over the next few days, and then maybe some additional frontal systems as we go through the extended forecast, as you can see there moving down across the region. We'll be breaking those down one at a time, day by day. Here's the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook. I believe this is the same as what I showed last night. Below average, above average precip here for much of the west. 8 to 14 days, something similar, and above average precipitation amounts. Cross your fingers. That looks good, right? But anyway, again, stay safe out there. Let's do our best not to start any fires. I was going to try to kick on the webcams this morning, but it looks like it's still a little bit too dark as I'm doing this briefing, so I didn't get much. I couldn't see much on the webcams out there this morning. But anyway, hope you guys are having a good day. Otherwise, click like and subscribe. We'll do this all again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.